Now. Well, hello. I want to welcome my guest, Erica Ross Krieger. You all are going to love this session today, and I'm so glad you're here. Really important to hang on because both in the comments below down here and at the end of this broadcast, Erica is offering some fantastic free one-on-one time for the first few people that might reach out. So once you hear what this is all about, if you're like me, you're going to be intrigued. I kind of selfishly get the one-on-one time right now with Erica because I'm doing the interview. But this is going to also be available to anyone, the first 5 people who comment below or reach out to me with a DM. So we're really looking forward to that. I want to introduce, now that I've blathered on a little bit, starstruck, my friend Erica Ross Krieger. Erica has 25 years experience in her field. She's a mindset expert. She's written one book. She's in the middle of writing another book. She's a board certified coach from before board certified became a thing to talk about. EFT is her specialty, and she also weaves in some numerology here and there as well. So we are honored to have her here. We're going to take all of this skill set and apply it to money and money mindset today. And all she told me, and I have no idea what's going to happen with this, is to bring a dollar bill and some water to drink. So I've done both of those. They're here, but I have no idea what to expect. I'm going to give Erica a minute to say hi, but also with a leading question, because I am that black and white sort of out of the left brain kind of person. What is EFT, Erica? And welcome.
Thank you, Pam. Well, let's see if I can answer that one in a nutshell. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Long story short, it was brought popular here in the US about 25 to 30 years ago in its most present form by a man named Gary Craig. And the bottom line of this is that it's well documented that this is a modality that helps reduce cortisol levels in the body. And the cortisol levels are levels of hormones that pop up when there's fight or flight. And you might say, how does that relate to money? Well, EFT is a system whereby, based on principles of Chinese medicine, we assume that there are 12 meridians running through the body, energy meridians, and that in acupuncture, there are particular points where an acupuncturist inserts a needle and releases energetic blocks. But by taking our 2 fingers and gently tapping on some particular points, we have also found, and that's what EFT is about, that we can actually release the energy blocks and reduce cortisol levels simply by tapping in a particular sequence and saying a couple of particular things. This has been proven to be efficient and effective for everything you can imagine, from reducing stress to helping those returning from serving abroad with PTSD, big for reducing worry, anxiety, all the emotions that come up sometimes when we are dealing with our finances, right? Mm-hmm. There's this like mindset thing that goes on, and EFT can really help that. So that's my short answer.
Well, that is a great answer. And the reason that Eric and I connected on this is, one of the things we all deal with in our finances, certainly my clients, anybody I talk to at conferences and events, Erica, there's always anxiety around the conversation, and there's always, and it's perfectly natural. I've actually sort of broken down the resistance to dealing with money into 4 reasons, and 2 of them are very tactical, but 2 of them are very heavily mindset related. And one is this sense of shame and embarrassment, which Beautiful. I talk a little bit about in the audience and say, look, think about what your particular fill in this blank. I am so embarrassed about my finances because blank. And then I say, look, now look to your left and look to your right and know that every single person you're looking at has exactly the same sort of thing. They've just filled in the blank differently. But the other one is fear, and it's real. It's not just an abstract block. It's a very real kind of physical block for people. So what's one of the things that Eric and I have talked about a lot, and I figured we'd just deal with the elephant in the room by staring it right in the face. So thanks so much for running us through a little workshop here.
You're welcome. And Pam, do you have access? I didn't even ask you this, but I see it, so I might as well jump on it. The whiteboard behind you, do you have a pen?
I do. So, I'm always prepared for my whiteboard.
So I am going to jump right in, and I will say this so people understand a little bit too about how I work. I'm a very much person who loves to embrace and confront blocks, and that's what I'm really all about. Like elephant in the room, etc. Like, let's get to it. That said, anybody who's listening, including yourself or working here, you're not going to be sharing anything I ask you to share numbers-wise with anybody. So I just want to say that.
So safe space there for that. Fantastic.
Right. So what I want everybody to do is take out a sheet of paper. With Pam, you can use your whiteboard. And Pam, you're only going to use an X, right? You're not going to use a number. No,
Got it.
Number sign.
Got it.
Everybody else, in the very center of the board, Pam, I want you to put down the number, everybody, of the amount of money that you brought in last year. Now, let me give you a couple of caveats. This, you decide what that is. It can either be your gross from your business, your net. It can be what you paid yourself. If you're a W-2 earner, it can be the amount you earn. As long as you stick with the same number label the whole time we're working, then that's fine. So whatever it is for last year, now that either means for 2018 or from June of last year to right now. And Pam, go ahead for you and just put down an X or the number sign in the middle of the board so everybody knows where they're doing it.
Actually, I'll put a number sign. That's probably even better. So
yeah. So everybody, in the middle of your paper, you're putting down your earnings, your amount you brought in for last year. Now, why I'm saying this is we're about ready to calculate your COI, and I'll tell you about what that means in a little bit. The next number I want you to write down is up at the very top of that page in the center, and I want you to think very clearly, take a minute, if you were to identify all of your blocks and all of your fears and confront them and get out of your own way, what number is possible for you for this next year? So maybe that's 10x the number, maybe it's 20x, maybe it's 2x, whatever that number is. So that's the number you're going to put at the top.
So for example, if I put $10,000 here, and I think that I can make 10 times that this year, I would put 100,000 here. If I put 100,000 here, I'd put 1 million here if 10 was my thing.
Right, whatever, if 10's your thing. Whatever you feel like, truthfully, if you got out of your own way, what's possible?
Mm-hmm. Now, actually, I'm just going to do this a little bit differently and just make it a different number.
Okay, great.
It doesn't have to be a multiple at all, right?
No, not at all.
Some number I put there. Okay.
Yeah, it's really, the middle is actual last year and the top is what's possible.
Got it.
Yep. And that what's possible should be bringing up some stuff for you. If you did it right, it should be bringing up stuff. And I can already tell you, as can Pam, that some of that stuff is either fear or self-doubt or, oh my God, how will I get there? Blah, 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 blah. Right?
All the things, yep.
We'll talk about that. But for right now, there's that. Now, what we're going to do with this in calculating your COI is we're going to create an equation. So Pam, underneath that middle number, I want you to draw a horizontal line. And everybody, what I want you to do is subtract the middle number from the top number and put it right below the line. And then divide whatever that is by 12.
Okay.
So you've got
Divided by
12.
12. So I'm going to have, I'm
So,
just going to make it easier. And we're just
yeah.
going to, this is not my math, but we're just going to say it's 120 and we're going to divide it by 12.
So
And
it's
that's going to be
10 per month, 10
per
per month,
month.
whatever that is. Right.
Okay.
So what we've just calculated from my perspective is your cost of inactivity. That's, I call it your COI. Your cost of not facing your blocks. It's your monthly cost of not doing the work.
Love that. Love
That's
that.
how much it's costing you every month to not get out of your way.
Because we just said, if I'm interpreting correctly, hey, this is what I think I could do. This isn't you putting a number in my mouth.
That's
This
right.
is me saying, you know what, if I got out of my own damn way, if I just believed or whatever my thing is, whether it's imposter syndrome or I don't know how or I've never done it before, I've put that there to say, when I put those things aside and just pretend they don't exist, then this is the additional money I've got to make per month. And so by just letting those blocks stay there without working on them at all, I'm costing myself $10,000 a month.
That's right.
How interesting. Okay, cool.
Now, here's the deal. My view is the Pam, well, I'm going to use your name.
Yeah, totally good. We're workshopping me, guys.
Yeah.
So
The Pam that is at the top of that board is a very different Pam than the one who's at the middle of the board.
Huh.
And I'm all about, I want to talk to the Pam at the top of the board, because that Pam, I can guarantee you, has a very different mindset than the Pam in the middle of the board.
Huh.
That Pam has not only different money rules, and by money rules, and I work with people to establish money rules, how they're utilizing money, how they're allocating money, what they believe about money, where they believe they should be saving, investing, donating. That Pam has a very different mindset than the Pam in the middle. She has a very different set of money rules than the Pam in the middle. She's a very different person. It's that Pam, that's the one I talk to.
Got it. Okay, cool.
And she also knows what she needed to do to get there. She knows what blocks she addressed.
Huh.
She knows what she had to do to get out of her own way. And she also has information about how she was blocking herself.
Got it. So she knows what this path was.
That's exactly
Whereas
right.
this Pam doesn't know what that path is yet.
That's exactly right.
Love it.
You know, we can call it your future self, and
Yep.
it is. We
Yep.
can call it your inner CFO, which it is. We can call it your inner entrepreneur, which it is. You can call it your higher self, which it is. Whatever you want to call it, that self knows a whole lot more.
Yeah, I've never really looked at it that way. I've never thought about the fact that person. I've looked and talked and believed that, you know, you need to be who you're becoming, but
Yes.
it had never occurred to me that person by default knows how you got there.
That's exactly right.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we're sort of going to do something a little different. You can go ahead and erase that board if you want. That's sort of a premise of some other things we'll be doing.
All righty.
So in general, what I like to say is what that Pam up there knows is she has a deeper relationship with money than the Pam in the middle.
Okay.
We're going to help the middle Pam deepen her relationship with money. And we're going to do that with a model called I Create. So on your whiteboard, down the left side, as you face it, I want you to write the letters one above the other, I, and then underneath it a C, and underneath that an REATE, like you're making an acronym.
Can you see that okay?
I sure can.
Okay, good.
Okay, now this model is actually called a schemata. And I never even knew that word before, but the person who who this is, and this is not mine, but I've studied with him for more than 10 years, is a psychologist in Texas named Rick Carson. And Rick wrote a book called Taming Your Gremlin. And he also wrote a book called The Master Class in Gremlin Taming, where he introduces the I Create model, or he calls it a schemata. And he devotes an entire half of that book to it. So if people want to go further and read about that, they can.
That name was, what was his name again?
His name is Rick Carson, Carson.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. And here's how I use it with relationship to money. I'm going to give you what each of those letters stand for, and you can go ahead and jot it up there, and I'll tell you how that relates. So the letter I is the word intention. The letter C is connection.
Okay.
The letter R is respect.
Okay, I like these words so far.
Letter E is environment. This is great. I teach a class and Pam does all the writing. I love
this. I get to do all the writing and I don't have to teach. No, go ahead.
And the A is authenticity.
We always knew we could facilitate something together, right?
We have been talking about it for 2 years. And the T is trust.
Trust.
And the E is experience.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you how this relates to money and how I use it. And we're going to actually do something with that dollar bill in a minute. But
cool. I'm dying to know what we do with the dollar bill. I got to tell you.
I know. So Rick's schemata is something that you use in order to help you build a bridge between you and anyone or anything else. So your partner, your spouse, your mother, your father, your son, your dog, your lizard, your whatever, your car. It's how you're gonna deepen your relationship. And believe me, it works really well in marriage. I can tell you after 31 years and we apply this, it works very well. And I'll tell you how you're gonna apply it in a minute to money. So there's a sentence that goes along with this. Pam, you don't need to write it up there. I'll say it several times. And I want you to think about this in relationship to a person, and then we'll make a translation to money.
Okay.
And that is every single time I interact with someone where I care to deepen the relationship or at least keep it whole. And I am doing that with you here as well as with the group who's watching. I use this model and I say to myself, even before I get on a phone call with anybody, I intend to connect with respect in an environment of authenticity, trust the process, and see where the experience takes us.
Wow.
So I'll say it again. I intend to connect with respect in an environment of authenticity, trust the process, and see where the experience takes us. Now, you might ask me different questions about any one of those words, so I want to stop for a second if you do, but then I'm going to talk about how it relates to money. So stop me if none of that's clear.
No, that makes sense. It's the intent to connect with respect in an environment of authenticity.
Yep.
Where I trust the process. That's that's kind of a neat piece that I hadn't thought about when I did intentions before, is you just trust the process.
Yep.
And although, we talk about doing that whenever we teach something, right? Trust the process. You can't see it, but trust it. And then see where it takes us. I love it.
Now, what's interesting about the environment and the authenticity, which I often get asked about, so I'm going to sort of jump the gun as if somebody were asking it, is the environment. I can control as much of it as I can, and how the environment can shape the relationship. I put down my cell phone at a restaurant, for example, or I did what I did this morning, like the landscaper was due to be here this morning with a very loud blower right at the time we're filming this. And I had to call him and make sure, like, hey, don't show up, right? Now, that doesn't mean I can control somebody comes and
my dog's barking if the dog walker comes.
There you go, right?
Yep.
Right. But that's to say I did what I could within the scope of what I was able to do with regard to the environment. And I
actually love this. It ties in with a conversation I had with my daughter last night, who's just an amazing being. I think she was born like literally 100 years before her time, or with a 100-year-old soul. But she said to me, you meditate, and you're in the moment when you meditate. You need to focus on being in the moment all the other times of the day, or more, in your daily stuff. And I went, wow, that I think I probably knew that somewhere, and she just jogged it. And that part of that, the reason I thought of her is because she's the one who really taught us, put down the phone, put down the phone and let's talk, which I just think is an awesome reminder. Cool.
Beautiful. So she came in knowing it. So remind me, I got to send you a copy of the book, my book, the first one, 7 Sacred Attitudes. The subtitle is How to Live in the Richness of the Moment.
Oh, I can't wait to tell Lindsay this. She will love it. I will remind you.
Well, I might send you 2 copies so she gets one too.
Awesome.
But in any case, it is about that. So let's talk about how this applies to money and finances. Okay. So if I'm sitting down to balance my books, look over a report from my CPA,
look at your cash flow forecast.
Look at my cash flow, look at my taxes, pay a bill, receive a check, sign the back of a check, deposit anything. If I can apply this model, then how do I deepen my relationship with the money, with what money represents to me? With me sitting down and carving out a decent environment might mean, hey, take a few minutes and clean out that drawer that's all cluttered with garbage. Get your files in order, get your books in order. Be authentic with, you've got somebody to clean up some money stuff with, be authentic in that conversation.
Clean out that receipt box and organize them before year end.
Absolutely. And the trust the process piece also is, if Pam's coaching you, trust what information is there. And if you don't have enough information for you to secure that trust, then go back, be authentic, ask more questions until you can establish that.
Yes.
So what I'm after here is that future Pam is very good at applying this model to her daily life and to her relationship with money, which frankly, and this is, now we're about ready to get into the dollar bill thing.
Yay!
A lot of us also, from my belief system, have gotten cut off from money the more plastic we use. And by that, I mean, it's very simple to, put it in an ATM. Well, even let's not talk ATM because then you're getting paper, but
I'll tell you what, Venmo.
Yes, there you go.
Everything I do now with basically my daughter's generation is Venmo.
Right. So I'm about let's connect with what all that represents. So for that, I am going to ask you to take out your dollar bill, but go ahead and have a sip of water real quick. I'll take one with you. All right. And why is we're about ready to get into some energy work.
Okay.
And energy flows best and your system flows best when you've got water and you're hydrated. Okay, so we're gonna have a lot of quiet on this. So if people tune in right in the middle of this and they don't hear a lot of words, they're gonna know why.
I'll make sure I cover in the introduction that we're not going to run it live, so hopefully they won't actually. We're going to do this, put up a recording, so we should be safe from that actually.
Good. All right. So I want you to take out your dollar bill, Pam, and have the George Washington facing you with his head at the top. Not upside down. Yeah. And now from here, you can, you're going to do what I say, but you're going to stay in silence.
Okay.
So you're only going to be me talking.
Okay.
Observing this dollar bill, simply notice one thing you haven't noticed before. Keep it to yourself. Just all this is internal. Good, just like that. Look at the dollar bill again and simply notice something you haven't noticed before. Keep breathing. Turn the bill over however you want. Upside down, doesn't matter. Just turn the bill over. And notice something you haven't noticed before. Turn the bill 90 degrees and notice something you haven't noticed before. Turn the bill another 90 degrees and notice something you haven't noticed before. Turn the whole thing over again, flip it over, any direction. Notice something you haven't noticed before. And notice something you haven't noticed before. And notice something else you haven't noticed before. And notice something else you haven't noticed before. Holding the dollar bill, gently close your eyes. And I want you to think about where you got this dollar bill. Just let the first thing come to your mind, even if you don't exactly remember. Who gave it to you? I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Just answer them internally. Who gave it to you? What was exchanged for this dollar bill? What did they purchase from you? Where did you get it? And think about where that person might have gotten it. Make it up. And now think about where that person might have gotten it, because it came from people. Somewhere along the line, think about where that person might have gotten it. Who were they? What were they doing so that it exchanged hands? I want you to think about all the territory that this bill has covered, all the geography, wherever it's been, how it's exchanged hands, and how it traveled to you. Now open your eyes and look at that dollar bill and notice something you haven't noticed before. And taking the model we just discussed, intending to connect, believe it or not, with this dollar bill and the respect you have for it and how far it's traveled and the energy exchange that it represents. Look at it and notice something you haven't noticed before. Great, big deep breath. Go ahead and put the bill down. I just want to hear a little bit of takeaway from you, Pam, and I'll tell you why we did that in a minute.
Okay, so the thing I found the neatest was kind of going through its journey. So I noticed it was a 2013 series. So when you said think about the geography it's covered, it was amazing to think that, you know, for 7 years, this has been out there floating around. And since it's a $1 bill, it's probably traveled a lot. It's beaten up, so it's had quite a journey. and that there's an awful lot on this bill, despite the fact that at first I thought, well, there's nothing else I haven't seen before. When you pushed and you pushed and you pushed and you pushed, there was always one more thing I could find, no matter how smart I thought I was, that I'd already seen it all. Mm-hmm. So those were the things that really jumped out at me.
Good. And the reason I do that is I think that it's important that we connect to real money rather than just plastic or Venmo. And every once in a while, I will pull $1 out of my wallet and do that exercise. And I'm going to invite your people to do the same.
Yeah.
Does it work with a 20? Sure. Does it work with 100? Sure. There's something about a single that and it's also got a lot of elaborate stuff. Not that they all don't, but look,
yep.
You've got the pyramid on the back. You've got the 13 arrows. You've got a lot of beautiful, we put a lot into the design of this. Now, granted, we're looking at this here in the US. Anybody listening to your thing from another country with their denomination can do the same thing. Their denominations travel the same. My point is also here.
Well, I had some Canadian money, but I don't right now.
There you go. Well, we're deepening our relationship with money, which means that we also are acknowledging money is an exchange of energy, that people were involved in this, that somewhere along the line, I don't know, the hairdresser exchanged her energy for your haircut, and you thanked her by exchanging your energy with, the dollar bill that you earned from working with a client. So it's all related to that. It's not just money. It's a symbol of energy and energy exchange. And that's also why the I Create model.
I love this because I'm going to do a small tangent here. Actually, part of what I teach is people who really do have these blocks about cash. It's like, it's about putting cash in your business. It's about putting cash in your business. Is all that is an exchange of value. You are able to do something, in 1 hour that costs you $100, that if I did it myself, it would take me 20 days, would cost me, $1,000, and I'd probably miss the mark anyway. And so this right here is the value you add to me that I give you money for. And so it's really nothing other than exchange of value. And you're really saying the same thing. It's an exchange of energy that this represents. I love that.
So back to that original drawing with Pam, current Pam and future Pam, all she did was exchange more energy. All she did was possibly show up in the world more. Now, therein itself could be somebody's block, right? Oh my gosh, showing up in the world more. So that's why I next want to go into, let's really start unpacking some of the key blocks and the ones that are most familiar. So you can go ahead and erase that board.
All righty.
And picking up on the idea of Chinese medicine, one of the things I use is a system about bringing the 5 elements to work. And by that, I mean this. In the system of traditional Chinese medicine, there's actually 5 seasons, not just 4.
Oh.
So they actually consider late summer a season. So it's a 5th season. The interesting thing is it overlays perfectly with our businesses, which are the source for most of us of our income, right? And there are different seasons in a business, and there are different blocks associated with those. And I'm not going to go into all of them, but I am going to cover 3. So if you want to draw them on the board, you can.
Okay.
And if you want, you can sort of draw it in a circle. So we'll say at the bottom of the draw a huge big circle like the face of a clock. And down at around the 6 o'clock area, you can add the word create.
Oops.
So, and that's considered also spring. So in the spring, there's creation, there's new buds. Think about in life, right? There's new growth, there's new things. In a business, at different points in time, you're creating, you're developing, you're thinking of new products, new projects. There's newness going on there, right? the main blocks that are very common when we're at that phase, and we're in that phase more than once, by the way. This isn't oh, I'm there at the beginning of my business and never again. Are you kidding? We cycle through this all the time. The main blocks are around perfectionism and self-doubt. So I may never get the product or the new idea out the door because I don't think it's ready yet, or I doubt myself. So if there's fear, it's around that, but it's perfectionism and self-doubt that have to do with that creative energy. Now, as I mentioned with the numerology, and I'm not going to do it right now because I'd need birth dates of everybody, and I don't have that.
Got it.
But based on that, I can also tell if you've got, and I can associate that also with energy in the body, of if there is your primary place that you tend to have a block. My view is for every strength, there's a corresponding block. And for people who are extremely creative, then it's very likely that they have a strong component of lack of confidence, self-doubt, even though you may not know it. They may create a lot of stuff. So it's sort of like the other end of being really great at creating things is you're never going to get rid of the hurdle of self-doubt. As my friend, mentor, and another teacher of mine, the amazing Dan Millman, who wrote The Way of the Peaceful Warrior years ago, has always said to me, you're going to just become a master hurdler. Yeah. So that hurdle of self-doubt when there's creativity, you're just not going to get rid of it, waste your time, but you are going to become a master hurdler. And that said, the tapping that we'll do in a minute can help you even become a better master hurdler.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the next, we'll be going around that circle, maybe a third of the way around. And these aren't necessarily in order, but there is some relationship here.
Okay, we're gonna put 3 on or 5 on? We're gonna put 3 on.
We're gonna put 3 on.
Okay, cool.
So this next one we'll call either implementation or execution, whatever word you want to use, is fine by me.
We'll just use them both.
Okay, you're implementing, you're executing. That's where you're bringing your creativity to market, so to speak.
Okay.
Right. And the main hurdles here, the main blocks are overwhelm and confusion. Oh my God, there's so much to do. Or, oh my gosh, I said I'm going to make 7 figures next year. How am I going to get there? Oh my goodness, I'm so confused. I don't know which tactic to take. You've heard them all.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of blocks around that particular area. In Chinese medicine, this is full-blown summer. This is in its glory. I'm implementing, the other piece that goes with this is, and it goes in both this and the next one, but is also showing up.
Okay.
In my brilliance. So my block might be, I'm afraid to show up. And it's located, by the way, in your solar plexus, usually that block, your 3rd chakra, which is related here, which is, oh my goodness, I'm showing up and I don't know if I can show up that much more brilliantly. Got it. Yeah, so there's a little self-doubt, but it's mostly I'm overwhelmed, I'm confused, and that's where it's showing up.
Okay.
And the next area we'll call maintenance. Resilience comes in here, but I'm maintaining things in my business. So I'm keeping operations going. I'm keeping up with stuff. I'm making sure that things don't slip through the cracks. I've got good systems in place to do that. Now, what can happen here is a block of, oh my goodness, it's not working. The evidence is showing me that it's not working. And what happens here is we start focusing on the circumstances and have our mindset be determined by the circumstances. When in fact, our future self knows that the best energy to create that future state is for me to stay vibrating, if you will, for a little woo-woo of a word, vibrating in alignment with that future state, not with present circumstances.
Got it.
And we get, we're sort of maintenance things here. Now, along the way in all of these, there's fear of failure and fear of rejection are also some common blocks.
And is that fall maintenance?
No, actually, fall is actually a little different. This is late summer.
Okay.
Fall is letting go of things, of shedding things, but I didn't want to start in on that right now, but fall is where I'm starting to let go and shed. This is more late summer.
Okay.
And I'm going to grab another sip of water here.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay.
So for the sheer heck of it right now, what I want to do is let's do some tapping, shall we?
Okay.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that works in a minute, but I'm also checking in on our time. How are we doing, Pam?
You know what? I have totally lost track. 2:32, so we have about, say, 15 more minutes.
Okay, I think we should be good. So why don't you, while you're looking at that, you know your clients, you know who's watching, you know who's listening. Why don't you pick out for me the blocks that you want to start with some tapping?
Okay, so the most common.
And any of those that are up there would.
Yep, I'm looking at it in my camera here. The most common, I think people have, well, two. The two that I would say my clients and myself get caught up in is perfectionism and overwhelm. Are probably the two that bubble up the most.
Okay, got it. I've got it. I'm on it. I know what we're going to do. So I'm going to explain where the points are before we start tapping.
Okay.
And I'll call them out. And what is going to happen, Pam, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a frog in my throat.
I'm making you talk a lot here, so.
Yeah, and when there's stuff in the throat chakra, it's also often about showing up. So I have my own blocks to deal with here.
Don't we all?
Right? Okay, so I'm going to start with this and explain the tapping points. This side of the hand on either side, the meridians go through both sides of the body. Pick a side, doesn't matter. I'm going to tap using my dominant hand on my non-dominant hand. The first point is called the karate chop point, and I use a lot of fingers to tap gently on it. And each time we're tapping, we're not going to tap so hard that we're giving ourselves bruises. Perfect, just like that.
Okay.
So that's the karate chop point. Next point is the eyebrow point. Either side, either hand, both if you want. It doesn't make it better that you use both. I'm going to use one. Right where the eyebrow and you're tapping on the bone almost meets the nose, right? So on the inside, I'm going to tap gently on the bone right there. Perfect. I'm using 2 fingers.
Got it.
Great. That's called the eyebrow point. You're going to follow the bone, and the next point we call the outside of the eye. You're not banging on your temple. You're on the bone, right on the outside of the eye. Beautiful. Next point is called under the eye, again on the bone, right below the iris of your eye. Just like that. Yep. Next point is called under the nose, and it's between the nose and the upper lip. Beautiful. And the next point is called the chin. It's actually between the lip and the chin and the cleft. There we go. And the next point is called the collarbone. Now let me explain this one before I show you. So technically the point is right below the bone in the soft indentation here on either side. You could tap on both of them, but I find the best way, and I don't want to get my camera.
Oh, the mic.
I find the best way is to use the flat of your hand right like this, and you're covering both.
Okay.
Okay, so that's, yeah, a little bit higher. Perfect. Yep, just like that. All right, next point is called under the arm, and it's actually on either side, under the arm, 4 inches down from the armpit, and for ladies, it's right at the bra strap.
Oh, okay.
And I am using all of the tips of my 4 fingers to cover the point for sure. And you don't have to be perfect with this.
Speaking
It's
of
like,
perfectionism.
there you go. Yeah, whatever you do is just right. Last point we're going to use is the top of the head. There was a little circle up there. Imagine it the size of a quarter at the crown of your head. You're going to tap right there. All right. So what's going to happen is you're going to repeat after me. And I'm going to say this to your audience as well, our audience. Even if the words don't completely resonate, say them, because you get something called borrowed benefits, which is by tapping and holding the emotion present, you're telling the body, this is what I want you to clear out. Now, there are people who do 2 rounds of tapping. 1 round they do where you're clearing out the old stuff, and then the other round is you're bringing in the new stuff. So with manifestation, just so you know, the way that it works energetically is we clear out from the bottom chakra up, lower chakras up, and we bring in manifesting from above down, so below, top down. That I do both things in 1 round of tapping. And you'll hear me make the transition and you'll get it.
Okay.
And I want to say to people too, don't be afraid that you're tapping and making things more negative. You're not. You're surfacing what's really already there, and you're telling the body it's safe and okay for you to clear this out now. That's really what you're saying.
Got it.
The other thing I want to say is that said, and how you get borrowed benefits. If I use any word that you would never use and that goes against your grain or goes against your values, don't use it and substitute another word. And I'll give you an example. If I say crap and you don't like that word, don't use it.
Got it.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah.
Do what I say. Okay.
Do what I say, and you're going to repeat after me as we tap. And I'm going to look at both overwhelm. I'm going to look at perfectionism, anything that might get in the way of current Pam and future Pam.
Got it.
As much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you're going to say on the karate chop point for 3 times, and you'll see. So let's start with this. I want you on a scale of 1 to 10 in your own mind. You can share it with the group if you want or not. But everybody, thinking about the degree to which this statement is true. I have a lot of apprehension about getting to my future state. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 is a lot of apprehension. 0 is no apprehension, or whatever word, a lot of fear, a lot of whatever. You have a lot of it, you're at a 10. You have none of it, you're at a 0. Go ahead and write that number down before we start tapping, because we're going to go back at the end and we're going to use that subjectively to see if you made a shift.
Cool.
Okay. So for your own self, you got your number down. Here we go. All right. Tapping on the side of the hand, repeat after me. Even though there's a little bit of fear.
Even though there's a little bit of fear.
About me reaching that future state.
About me reaching that future state.
Maybe even a lot of fear.
Maybe even a lot of fear.
I choose to deeply and completely.
I choose to deeply and completely.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Even though I don't know how the heck I'm going to do it.
Even though I don't know how the heck I'm going to do it.
I choose to deeply and completely.
I choose to deeply and completely.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Even though that state seems a little bit impossible.
Even though that state seems a little bit impossible.
I choose to deeply and completely.
I choose to deeply and completely.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe anyone else.
And maybe anyone else.
Who might be involved in this.
Who might be involved in this.
Eyebrow. I have a lot of concern.
I have a lot of concern.
Side of the eye. Side of the eye, Pam. That I might not reach that state.
That I might not reach that state.
Under the eye. This is pretty scary.
This is pretty scary.
Under the nose. Sometimes perfectionism gets in my way.
Sometimes perfectionism gets in my way.
On the chin. Sometimes overwhelm gets in my way.
Sometimes overwhelm gets in my way.
On the collarbone. All this overwhelm.
All this overwhelm.
Under the arm. All this overwhelm.
All this overwhelm.
Top of the head. I am so overwhelmed.
I am so overwhelmed.
Eyebrow. I don't know where to start.
I don't know where to start.
Side of the eye. So many people.
So many people.
Under the eye. Telling me what to do.
Telling me what to do.
Under the nose. So many directions.
So many directions.
On the chin that I could take.
That I could take.
Collarbone. It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
Under the arm. And sometimes I get stuck in perfectionism.
And sometimes I get stuck in perfectionism.
Top of the head. I just want it to be right.
I just want it to be right.
Eyebrow. Before I take action.
Before I take action.
Side of the eye. I just want it to be right.
I just want it to be right.
Under the eye. I just want it to be perfect.
I just want it to be perfect.
Under the nose. All the details.
All the details.
On the chin. All the ducks.
All the ducks.
On the collarbone. I just want them all lined up.
I just want them all lined up.
Under the arm. All the overwhelm.
All the overwhelm.
Top of the head. What if it's possible?
What if it's possible?
Eyebrow. That I could release some of this.
That I could release some of this.
Side of the eye. What if it's possible?
What if it's possible?
Under the eye. That it won't be as hard as I think.
That it won't be as hard as I think.
Under the nose. Well, it might be hard.
Well, it might be hard.
On the chin, but it won't be overwhelming.
But it won't be overwhelming.
On the collarbone. What if that's possible?
What if that's possible?
Under the arm. What if I stay in connection?
What if I stay in connection?
Top of the head. With my money.
With my money.
Eyebrow. With my brilliance.
With my brilliance.
Side of the eye. With my trust.
With my trust.
Under the eye. In my higher self.
In my higher self.
Under the nose. And my future self.
And my future self.
On the chin. And what she knows.
And what she knows.
Collarbone. What if it's possible?
What if it's possible?
Under the arm. That my future self.
That my future self.
Top of the head. Knows exactly what to do.
Knows exactly what to do.
Eyebrow. What if it's possible?
What if it's possible?
Side of the eye. That I let some of this overwhelm go.
That I let some of this overwhelm go.
Under the eye. Letting it go now.
Letting it go now.
Under the nose. Letting it go at a cellular level.
Letting it go at a cellular level.
On the chin. Letting it go from every fiber in my being.
Letting it go from every fiber in my being.
Collarbone. Letting it go all the way back through the past.
Letting it go all the way back through the past.
Under the arm. Letting it go through all the times in my life.
Letting it go through all the times in my life.
Top of the head. Where I ever learned.
Where I ever learned.
Eyebrow. That perfectionism.
That perfectionism.
Side of the eye. And overwhelm.
And overwhelm.
Under the eye. Were what would keep me safe. Were what would keep me safe.
Where what would keep me safe.
Under the nose. I'm letting it go now.
I'm letting it go now.
On the chin. So I can free myself.
So I can free myself.
On the collarbone. To shine in all my glory.
To shine in all my glory.
Under the arm. As my future self.
As my future self.
Top of the head. In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
Deep breath, Pam. Go ahead and take a sip of water. And go ahead and rate for yourself how much on the scale of 0 to 10 that might still be true, where you're overwhelmed or can't see yourself getting there.
I dropped 4 to 5 points.
Awesome.
Easily.
So what just happened, whether the words were right or the words weren't right, you held on to the emotion, you told your body to clear it, and you actually just reduced your cortisol levels, which, by the way, a lot of people who realize when they do this over time and you're dropping cortisol levels, Also, kind of a side benefit, that is the number one reason people gain weight.
Hallelujah.
Has to do with raised cortisol levels.
Huh.
So by doing this consistently, we also use this for weight loss. But both things are true here. You just reduced your cortisol levels. So the other thing you did was you freed up the creative part of your brain that knows what to do and what to take action. And see, when we're in fight or flight and when we've got cortisol buzzing through us, we cannot make good decisions. We can't take good action. So the more we hold on to perfectionism and the more we hold on to that fear, the less access we have to the future self, to the connection to what that self knows.
Wow, that's so really cortisol is a brain hog almost.
Very good. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So if we're reducing it, we're freeing up the brain to do the kind of creative thinking that is the thing that conquers overwhelm and
Right.
perfection.
Cortisol basically is the basis for amygdala hijack, we call it.
I love it.
Yeah. So what you're doing is you're freeing up that part of the brain that is responsible for creativity.
Got it. Fantastic.
So my dear heart, I
Wow.
think we've covered so much in this amount of time.
I want to go back and watch this recording now. This is fantastic. You packed so much into this time. I know I'm grateful, and on behalf of my entire audience, we're grateful. One of the things I'd love to do, I know we're going to be working together in the future. Clearly we can facilitate something together. But what is it? You had mentioned that you had an offer for the first 5 folks that reached out. What is that you're going to be offering?
Yeah, and have them reach out to you with
Yep.
what my cell number is so we can be in touch. I'm sure it'll be easy. What I'd like to do is to do a 20-minute session with them. They'll have to provide me with their birth date, where I will not only identify the likely key hurdle that's in their way in their finances, but we'll do a customized tapping just for them.
Oh, awesome.
And by the way, you didn't have one, so you'll be number 6. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, because I would need birth date in order to
to do the whole shooting match. Well,
So-
thank you. That's an awesome gift. I simply can't thank you enough. So grateful to have you here. Erica Ross Krieger, and her first book is titled, I wrote it down here, Sacred Attitudes.
Seven Sacred Attitudes.
7 Sacred Attitudes.
How to live in the richness of the moment. And the next one's going to be 7 Sacred Attitudes for Wealth Manifestation.
Oh, love it. So it'll really be, well, I'll tell you what, I will be gifting that book to anybody in my program when it comes out. So you be sure and keep me in the loop, and we will get those and gift them to everybody who's in my program.
Awesome.
That is fantastic.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to share my gifts. It's just my favorite thing to do in the world.
Wonderful. You as well. And we will be talking in short order.